really excited because today we're gonna check out one of those guitar riffs, guitar chord progressions, right? That really make you want to play guitar, to grab the guitar in your room and just play it. Now we're talking about Drive by Incubus, and I just want to tell you, like, this song was released when I was probably in middle school. I think it was 1999 or 2000. Obviously there weren't many resources to learn guitar when you were a kid. There was no YouTube or anything. But I remember that I used to search for the very first guitar tabs that you used to find around on the internet. And most of them were obviously wrong, and I was trying to understand how to read them because I had no clue how to do that coming from classical guitar myself. So long story short, I tried to learn this song and I completely failed. So only a few years later I came back to this song and, you know, I just learned how to properly play this riff, which I love to this day. So all we need to get started is the 4 chord positions, which are all in their own way pretty unique and interesting. Now the first one is an E minor that they play with a bunch of open strings. So think of like if you wanted to play an E minor 7, like this one, and basically you don't bar it. So if you check out my first finger, it is actually only playing the note E on fret 7 of the A string, so it isn't playing any bar. And that means you then need, you know, the ring finger on fret 9 of the D and the second finger on fret 8 of the B string, and you get an open G string, which is the flat 3, and another E on top, the first string, and you can also use the one in the low end, which is going to be 1 octave lower than this, and get basically 2 roots in the bass this way, which is the way I like to play it to get started, right? So the unique thing about this chord is not just that you're playing an E minor, because you can play an E minor even here, it's that you're playing an E minor with an interesting voicing full of open strings. Then you move to an E minor 9, an extended chord, a minor 7th with the 9th, which basically gives you this really cool flavor, which usually you find in other genres, right? You find it in R&B and neo-soul, like on this channel. You find it in jazz, and you also find it in bossa nova. Right, so pretty unusual for a rock band when they write an acoustic ballad and they throw in this type of flavor. So again, how to play that? You still want the note E, fret number 7 of the A, as your root, but you're gonna position your second finger for it. Then you're gonna position your first as a little stretch on fret 5 of the D, and then 3 and 4 go on fret 7 of the G and B, this way. In this chord, I don't like to play the low E string, but it's completely up to you. I think I also mute the first string, so it goes kind of like this way. So it's gonna be like you play an E minor, you stay on the E minor, but you extend it to an E minor 9, and to do so you have to learn the muscle memory of this chord change, because it's kind of like you're going through 2 very different shapes, really. Right guys, if you are new around here, my name is Simone, I am a musician and content creator based in London, UK, and if this is your first time on the channel, a very warm welcome. If you enjoy these guitar lessons, consider subscribing to the channel. It doesn't cost you anything, but it really helps the channel a lot. And if you want to learn more guitar with me, there is also my R&B and neo-soul acoustic guitar course, which is an in-depth guitar course all about R&B and neo-soul genres, played on the acoustic guitar, finger picking, strumming, chord positions, chord progressions, the music theory behind them, and plenty of embellishments with chord diagrams on screen, backing tracks, PDF tabs to download, and even 5 neo-soul etudes to really learn how to play this style. If you love R&B guitar, neo-soul guitar, and if you're serious about learning, check out my R&B and neo-soul course in the description below. Once you've done this, you move to a C major 7, that if you're familiar with the channel, you've seen me playing so many times, but again, the root is on fret 3 of the A string, then you need 5 on the D, 4 on the G, and 5 on the E, and again, even here, you're gonna have an open string, the E string on top, so that's the major 3rd of the chord, and make sure to just mute the low E string with the fingertip of your first finger. Again, there is no bar involved here. My first finger is only playing a single note, this way. And on this chord you play kind of like the same rhythm as the first chord. And then the chord that sometimes I see people playing the wrong way. So let's address it. Okay, you are on the C major 7. All you want to do is look at where the fingers 3 and 4 are. you keep them there. That's fret 5 on the D, fret 5 on the B string, okay, 4th and 2nd string. Then all you want to do, you remove these two fingers, you take your middle finger and you bring it to the note A, fret number 5 of the E string. And you get this lovely chord, which again has a bunch of open strings, the open G and open E, okay? The A, you could play it, because that's the same note, the unison of the root. However, very likely with the second finger positioned correctly, you will mute it, and that's absolutely fine. So all of these chords have kind of like an open flavor, with this one being really unique. Then, what is the name of this chord? Well, I've seen all sorts of chord names like E minor over A, E minor 11, whatever. To me, this chord is indeed an A7, but it's a special A7. It's an A7 omit 3, which simply means there isn't a third in this chord. Now, often you may refer to chords without the third as sus chords when there is a fourth or a second, but neither of them is here, so it's just an A7 omit 3. A is your root note, G is your flat 7, and E is your 5th, so you find your 1, 5, flat 7. The only thing missing is the third. So A7 omit 3 is the last chord. So to recap, E minor 9, C major 7, A7, omit 3. The first step to learn this riff, guys, is make sure that you practice the muscle memory of the chord changes. So learn these positions. Then I'm going to show you the way I play it, because I like to do it pretty groovy, okay, kind of like funky. Then as always, if you want to check out the rhythm, if you want resources with all of the chord diagrams and even the music theory analysis, if you are interested, you find everything on my Patreon page. The link is in the description below. So let's analyze the way I like to play it, and I will also tell you what happens in the record if you want to try it that way. So I like to start with the first chord with 2 downstrokes on the 2 E's, followed by this kind of funky rhythm. And then I try to put as many ghost notes as possible, moving from one chord to another. And on the E minor 9, I really play only 2 sounds, basically. 2 ghosts, and then ghosts again. Same rhythm as the E minor 7 on the C major 7, so 2 notes, root and 5th this time. Same funky rhythm, ghosts, A7, no 3, so omit 3, just 2 sounds. And then I like to play ghost notes again, okay, because I like to play it funky and groovy. This is why I said this is a really fun guitar riff, guitar chord progression, you know, that makes you want to play the guitar, in my opinion. Okay, so it goes this way. Just have fun, because it's not supposed to be super clean and perfect, it's just supposed to be groovy. Now, do you play this for the entire song? Kind of. You only have one variation in the pre-chorus where you play these 2 chords. C major 7, which is obviously a chord that we have already played in the main riff, and A7, like an open chord here with 2nd and 3rd fingers being on fret 2 of the D and B string. This way, make sure you mute the low E. You change this chord on the offbeat number 4, like 1, 2, 3, 4, and okay. You do that 4 times and you kind of like play this way. Last time. And then you go back to the main pattern. So what you do the last time, a long stroke on the A7, but then immediately after you start with a crescendo of 8th notes. Okay, and just have fun with it. And again, the tabs are on my Patreon page. Now, how do they play it in the record? Well, you can hear that both in the record and in some live versions that you find on YouTube as well. They do kind of like this way. there are two things which are different from the way I like to play it. Basically, after the E minor 9, on the way to the C major 7, you can clearly hear a couple of D notes, which I assume they're played as open string. They could be played as fret 5 on the A, but I think it's open strings. Now, how intentional is that? We will never know. You know, it could be just that they hit the open D consistently every single time before heading to the C major 7. We'll never know. Personally, I don't really enjoy to play it that way. It would also mean that you have to be really careful about the string that you play. But if you like this way, feel free to do it this way. And on the A7 Umid 3, they basically do only those two sounds, kind of like this. They don't really play the top part, this pinky note here, and they do a D to E slide before starting again with the E minor. Completely up to you to decide which version to play, but yeah, there's the way I personally like to play it. Hope you guys have enjoyed this lesson. Let me know what you think about it in the comments below and which version you prefer to play.